All right, so we're here at INBOUND 2025 in San Francisco. Very eye-opening year for us as partners, for our clients, and what's become possible or what's going to become possible very, very quickly for everybody. Like my biggest takeaway from this entire week, there's a wormhole that's just opened up, just like in the .com era where people were like, hey, if we're doing this now, boom. This is the first volley of like, here's how these tools work, here's how you can work for them. 3 months down the road, Salesforce is going to come back out and say, hey, we've got tools, look what they do. There's going to be a response, a counter response, a counter response, a counter response. And iron's going to sharpen irons very, very quickly. And this, even what we understand of this today, is going to accelerate.
Yeah.
Right? So RevOps and how we look at data and how we look at process is fundamentally changing very, very quickly. That's kind of my biggest takeaway in all of this, right?
Yeah.
Which could be scary for people. I know. Or if reframed and having a partner or somebody that they can work with that really understands how your business can leverage this, is going to be in a really great position.
Yeah, I found it reassuring seeing a preview last week.
Yep.
Hearing all of the individual updates and also then hearing unified as a theme. I didn't quite reconcile those very well.
Yeah.
But I do feel like over the last couple of days, I do feel like I'm seeing more, having done more specific product demos, seen a little bit more in action, and had some of the conversations that we've had with HubSpotters. I am seeing it. I'm seeing the unified piece of it a little bit more. I'm feeling less anxious about rolling out this list of 10 different changes or big new tools to the team. Feeling a lot more confident about them once they get their hands on it, being able to adopt it. And like we were just talking about with Angie, not thinking of it as some new scary world, but thinking of it as another tool that we use.
Right.
Just another feature, just another tool. There's going to be a learning curve. One of the things we talked about all week was like time to embrace humility. Time to recognize that we've all been working towards something and had ideas about what our services are and what they are at their best. And here we go with new toolkits that really open up a lot of opportunities and are going to force us to learn new things, right? Take new approaches. And I think that's going to be exciting. It's going to require us to do the learning ourselves and then really lead clients down this path as well to, get them past their fear.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think our people are going to have to make some fundamental changes to remain experts, right? Like anybody in the ecosystem who's a solutions engineer, a RevOps strategist, process, like they're going to have to start rethinking the approach and learning a new tool set. 100%. But I think like from the client's perspective, it feels extremely daunting. How do I go from where we are today, because our basic problem still exists, right? Which means that fundamentally that structure doesn't go away, of like having a solid foundation of data, process, adoption, enablement, reporting, strategy. Like that doesn't go away. But again, once you're there, RevOps changes fundamentally.
Yeah.
Right? Because RevOps starts to become more about accelerating revenue.
Yeah.
And accelerating conversions and accelerating success, more so than becoming, help us think about how we want to build that workflow.
Yeah.
There's bigger questions
to
ask that'll get you where you want to go faster.
I think maybe that's the momentum of the loop too, right? What we're seeing there, and then you use the word accelerant, and it's that same equation that Angie put forth, which was the IP plus EQ raised to the power of AI. Again, it's reassuring to me that it's not a matter of, hey, we've been doing something these ways for the last 2 years, and now here comes these tools and everything's changed, and you have to replace what you're doing. It's literally, hey, if you're doing things well, and you've got your solid foundation of your approach, and you've got your solid intelligence of your business, retain that, and now use AI as an accelerant to accomplish your goals. That's reassuring too.
Some of the fears I've seen this week or some of the reactions from people is like, one is, is it going to replace my job type of a reaction, right? And like where we're talking a lot, where we're spending a lot of time talking about this week with people is like, it just makes the human relationship in this process more important, right? So rather than people doing a lot of tasks or things that they do to kind of get to those human relationship moments, they're going to be able to spend a lot more time there building trust, building relationships, and building long-term customers, right, and delivering exceptional service and quality products than they are in the minutia of how they get there. Right? And so I think re-architecting process to not just include data points and like when do we call, when do we do this, but like starting to think about where we need human touch points, at which milestones, how frequently, and building that into a hybrid process where, again, you said, IP plus EQ equals the, just power of AI is like really powerful stuff because it allows us to have real conversations with people. We can do our research. We can understand more about these people before going into meetings, and we can spend more time having conversation. Knowing that a lot of that unstructured data is still going into the system, and we're going to be able to leverage all of it, but it's going to allow people to become more natural, more conversational, and I think get a lot more intel than we could have ever done with playbooks or just structured data. Right?
It is really exciting. That's one of the things we run into year after year, right, has been, hey, we have this intelligence over here. What can we do to gather this? Hey, can we get the notes into a property so that we can then access it for this? And it's here's like if you use the Ozempic analogy, like it's not the AI, it's not the AI magic bullet, but it is. There are instances where some things are reduced to that simple. It used to be, well, how do we get this information in such a way and now it's just that we can get to it wherever, more or less wherever it lives, And I think exciting for us over the last year plus, as we've thought about, all right, how can we be ahead of this, or at least towards the front of the pack as these opportunities emerge, and we've invested in AI tools, and we've pushed towards market with something, and then kind of pulled back and said, hey, that's not our main business priorities. May have been driving us somewhere else as to where we weren't ready to roll something out, or we had trepidation about something as to where we weren't willing to put our name on it. It's just really exciting that most of what we were seeing as opportunity now lives within the HubSpot toolkit. And that's pretty reassuring.
But even us, like, we went and brought AI into our business early, right? We started finding places and use cases to do our jobs better or do our jobs faster or, accelerate some of the things we were doing. We started doing that, but there was a learning curve even for us as partners, right, to start adopting this, right? And it's not going to be, we're not going to come away from here, to your point earlier, like we're going to go home from this. People are still going to have the same problems they're having with their systems. And it's not going to be like this immediate, like everybody's in.
Exactly.
Like it's going to take a lot of education. And I think it's going to take a lot of demonstration, like use cases and math for people to understand, like, oh, here's your process. Let's look here, here, and here, and see what's the job to be done. Let's figure out that piece and streamline your team so that, again, they can get back to having better. The other question I got asked that I thought was really interesting today was, kind of changes the game for marketing, right? Because now we're moving from SEO to AEO, which is really, it becomes an analytical, I wouldn't even say an analytical problem. This is an agentic problem. Like we can solve AEO through agents, right? The same thing that's driving this can solve the problem where we create a lot of that rich text and variant text and all these things that it can search. We're using the same tools to get there. Marketing is we're seeing things that are going to be able to like suggest segments and hyper-personalized messaging and all of this, right? So it changes the game of a marketer, right? And I've been saying this for a while, like if you're in school and you're getting a marketing degree, like figure out how to use AI because your job being, I want to see it's changing. Right? And one of the things about like when people learn marketing in school, by the time they get out, it has changed. Right? So by the time you get your degree, it doesn't even matter anymore. You just got a degree, it means you can learn. Now you got to come in and learn what marketing looks like now. And somebody asked me the question and said, what job is this? Whose job is this in my organization? Is this IT? Is this marketing? Like where does this belong now? If what we're trying to do is leverage data and leverage information and do all of this, what is that job? And I think it's going to create new jobs within organization, right? It's not going to be the same org structure we're used to seeing. It's going to change.
It's like the same. It's interesting because, again, that it's the mindset of like, okay, whose is this? That's indicative of like still an early understanding, a less than full understanding of what this thing is. Because it's like, that's like saying you walk into the office and saying like, who's got the stapler? Is IT in the stapler or does marketing have the stapler?
Right.
Everybody has a stapler.
The guy in the basement has a red stapler.
Everybody has a stapler. Marketing owns and uses AI in this capacity. Technology owns and uses in this capacity. The executive is going to have to own and utilize it in another capacity too. At some point, somebody's going to own the tech stack, just like they own the CRM or the voice app or whatever it might be. But at some point, it's a cross-organizational tool, and if it's unified, as HubSpot's saying, then it's going to serve the ultimate business goal. But everybody's going to have to own it in their own way if it's going to work well, right? Like,
yeah, it there starts with a really solid foundation. How do they build these language models, these studios, and these things so they can leverage it that way? Like, one of the things in looking at the smart CRM that blew me away was his ability to go, I want to look at things from a list view and build a list that looks like Excel because that's what I'm used to building. But then go, now I want to visualize it like this, like this, like this, like this. So
smart
it's like
views, flexible views.
Yeah, it's like HubSpot's created their own like version of Domo that lives right on top of easily structured data. So now as an executive, I have a couple options, right? I don't have to go to an admin to say, build me this report, and then they say we can't build a report because the data doesn't exist or the architecture's not there. Reports can literally be built on unstructured data.
Yeah.
The other thing that they can do is just literally build that view of like, this is the information I want to see, here's how I want to visualize it. Build it themselves like in 2 seconds, right? Or eventually, as everything ties together and the unstructured data just becomes part of that whole language model, is literally ask the question.
Yeah.
And get the answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is exactly what we were thinking about a year ago, was like, how do we make this so easy somebody can ask a question of their business and have not just the data in their CRM, but the data from their conversations, the data from their emails, the data from their notes, and external deep research, web information, LinkedIn profiles, announcements, press releases, all of that as part of that information pool that's going to help segment and tell a better story that's going to help people convert faster.
There was a session, I didn't hear all of it, but as I walked by, I mean, I don't know how many times I've heard the phrase unstructured data more in the last 3 months of life than ever, right? Over 44 years of life. The phrase I heard over there was unstructured feedback. So people running with that, like kind of departmentalizing it, right? Talking about you don't need to do a CSAT survey now where people answer specific fields and you're only doing your response, right? So again, just an example of unstructured data in like from that job to be done standpoint. One of the things that's, as we've heard panels talking about new tools and all that can be done, one of the things that people are falling short on is use cases over and over and over again. So I just found that one interesting because we can say unstructured data. We know that means you can access a call transcript or something like that. But I've been happy to see any presentation where people have been giving concrete use cases for things, right?
Yeah, I think this helped some of our conversations by having use cases or describing or talking about use cases. People are like, yeah, that makes sense. This is just a big, didn't quite understand it, didn't know what it could do.
Yeah.
Understanding it is like, it changes that a lot. We saw a lot of like conversation this week too, like as they brought in like people from Anthropic and other places, right? We saw that like, here's what AI at scale can do.
Yeah.
Some of it was a horror story, right? Like feeding on everybody's fears. Some of it's super hopeful about like how it can change humanity. Boiling it down to our world, what do you see as like the potential negative consequences of this acceleration?
I think we've talked about it a little bit just in terms of unpredictable outcomes and like just kind of lack of proven results with some of these tools. I think sometimes some of these tools, when you prompt your tool, off the magic happens. There's a science behind it all. We understand it to the degree that we do, but nevertheless, we see inconsistent results from similar prompts.
Even if they're inconsistent, most of the time they're better than human, right? Which means that we're still going to get where we're going faster.
Yeah, it could be. I think that it's a caveat emptor world. It's like the same that if you buy a Hayabusa motorcycle, it goes real fast.
Yeah, you don't have to ride it.
You could have a great time on it, or you could go straight off the edge of the bridge on it. And I think with some of these tools, if you say, okay, this thing's going to be able to help me with my targeting, and then it's going to help me with my research, and then it's going to help me with my outreach, and then it's going to help me with my communication with people and my follow-up, that's awesome. And just like your vehicle is going to help you get to point A to point B, you're right. I think if you say, ooh, this thing's going to do this for me, and I'm going to turn it on and see how it did after a week, I think that would be a really scary proposition. I wouldn't want to do that for our business. I wouldn't ask a client to do that for their business. And I think that working with clients in these tools is going to be, part of it's going to be that caveat emptor part. It's going to be a little bit of buyer beware. This is the intended function of this. This is how you monitor the outcome, and this is our suggestion to you on how to utilize these tools with testing, continue to understand them, continue to validate their outcomes, and put them to use for your business with that mindset, not so much the Ozempic, like you said, not so much that one and done.
Biggest thing that nobody talks about, right, is this concept of accelerating conversions and accelerating pipelines and talking to the right people and getting people in these positions to close faster and do all this faster. If operationally that company who's leveraging all of these tools to get there faster isn't operationally sound in their processes, they're going to implode.
Yeah.
And it happens very, very quickly. It's like people who are really great at marketing.
Yeah.
And I've been there, right? Like great at marketing, failed on like the delivery side, right?
Yeah.
You can't fail on the delivery side because what you're doing is now you're accelerating the amount of bad reviews you can get. You're accelerating customer disappointment. You're accelerating things you could lose on, right? So there's a real balance here of like understanding the potential impact that can have on your business, but also understanding the implications and getting ready, like operationally, getting your team ready to deliver your product, deliver things, onboard people in a much more structured fashion where there's no room for, oh shit, we're tripping on it, right? Like it needs to be choreographed in that the term I like to hear a lot this week was that hybrid between, where these tools can come into play and the human-centric piece.
Yeah.
I think delivery and onboarding fulfillment is still a piece where we're going to see a lot of human intervention where companies have to get it right.
Yeah.
Because if not, they're going to get exposed a lot faster and they're not going to have as much room to pivot, right?
Yeah.
Because of the volume that they could be dealing with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, it's an accelerant of whatever it is that is underway already. If you're targeted and being meaningful about what you're doing, and then you're going to succeed. If you're just kind of testing things out, it's going to potentially cause a lot of problems. I think it's going to be interesting getting our team to adopt these tools as well. I think we were saying earlier, like big words that I've seen on a bunch of slides was lead, right? Lead people to this, lead in the adoption of this. When you're talking about as a partner, particularly on Partner Day, how are you going to get clients to adopt it? You're going to have to lead with it. And I think it's been a tricky one. HubSpot has in the past done a pretty good job of showing us new tools and saying, and here's how you use them. And here's the conversations you have with customers. And here's how to start. And then here's how to take them to the next level. And, here's the right fit for ABC. And with this, we've really been shown like, here it is. Now, please lead the conversation. And we don't have a lot of those first steps, but it's just one of those things. Like even as I said, my comfort with a lot of this stuff has grown significantly over the last few days as I've been able to see some demos. I'm excited for the team to start using some of these things, organic use of it. We're then going to be able to,
It starts to, like, as they start to use it, they'll realize how intuitive it actually is.
Yeah.
Like right now, I think there's this, like, black magic that everybody has about like, how do I set this up? How do I do this? It's going to be a lot more intuitive than people think.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part we need to lean into is like, they just need to do it. They need to try it. They need to go, oh, wait a second. This is a lot easier than building a workflow where I have to understand all of the logic.
Yeah.
I just have to understand what's the problem to solve.
Yeah. And then know that tool's in your belt.
And validate the result.
Yeah. And validate. Yeah. You can't just show somebody this and expect them to do it. You can't tell them about it. You have to, and you can't force somebody to use it either on the client side. Like we said, we've got all this fresh in our minds, and we could list out the 10 clients who could all benefit from this stuff, and we could build it for them. But we are going to go back, and they're going to have their weekly cadence and their current pain points and that kind of stuff. But I think that's lead is the right word, because you can't force them to drink. At some point you're just holding somebody's head underwater if you're,
Well, so that comes to the other thing that I've been hearing is like, HubSpot's throwing a lot of change at like customers lately, right? We changed the seat-based model last year.
Yeah.
And in most cases, the seat-based model is a benefit to companies when it comes to service seats or sales seats. Where companies are freaking out a little bit is like core seats. How many do I need? Who needs them? I didn't get enough, right? So that's become a friction point as people are going through renewals. The other friction point is going to be that a lot of these tools that are going to help accelerate the business are going to be a consumptions-based product, right?
Yeah.
So as we use them, you'll consume credits, you'll use credits, and that'll be on your monthly bill.
Yeah.
So the question is, like, understanding that consumption model, understanding the ROI on that consumption, so as to say, at a certain point, like, what the return on investment is as you're spending. It's not a mystery that, like, wait a second, how did we just spend $13,000 enriching records and what happened?
Yeah.
Right? So I think there's this piece where people are going to need to be brought along on like, hey, here's how much it's going to cost if we do this, right? Build a model, be able to say like, here's the credit base based on your credit price and all of this, it's going to cost you X. Here's going to be the result, right? Is that worth it? It's going to be a cost benefit analysis, right? Probably will need to be some sort of approval process on before a certain amount can be spent or consumed. It's got to run past somebody in the company for them to start to feel like, okay, like I want to do this, but like I also don't want to get a bill next month for $20,000 because I didn't understand what was happening, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when cell phones were early and people used to get charged for data. And then somebody would spend all day on the phone and you get charged for data and you'd be like, what just happened to my phone bill, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the fear people have with credit-based consumption, that we're going to need to be able to not just show use case, ROI, but we're going to need to also be able to model spend and scale on that. And then also be able to show the ROI on the other side of it, because that's what it's really about, right, is delivering that ROI.
Yeah.
Recapping for us, like we had some great meetings with people who were like, to me, like we met with Angie O'Dad, we met with John Dick, we met with Sarah McDevitt. We met with, we're on the round table with Yamini tomorrow. Like I feel like we're able to start to see the vision more clearly by talking with these individuals who were part of the vision, who were part of like launching this vision, like developing those relationships and having these conversations. I think has helped us start to understand this a lot faster and wrap our heads around it. So I think it was a great week in terms of like not just the information we could get, but see executives at HubSpot and their perspective on what does how does this impact the future? What is their vision for it? Right, for us as a partner to start to get aligned with how we deliver these services to clients. It's huge.
Really validating too, as you said when we started talking. Validating to hear that where we've been putting our energy and leaning into what we're good at with existing HubSpot customers, and it's aligning. And there's been times over the years when it hasn't felt aligned with the partner program, to say the least, and just really reassuring in these conversations that we've had to feel, like you said, coming together. Our primary goals are starting to sync up with what HubSpot's seeing as a real value for its future, and it's cool.
It's really exciting. I feel like we have positioned ourselves properly for this transition. On the other hand, I've talked to clients and I've heard a lot of really positive feedback about working with our people. How impressed they are and how they feel like they're getting a lot of value from working with our team.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
It's really validating feedback to know like how much hard work we put into these relationships, but for people to like, hey, this is a noticeable difference. We failed with other partners, or we've seen partners like stumble but not be able to like recover, or like in every one of these instances, it's either like we have far exceeded their expectations, or even if we fell short, we came back and far exceeded their expectations. And having that validation has been really good, and I can't wait to like share that with the team. As like a validation of like, hey guys, like I know this has been, sometimes it's hard. We work hard. We always put the customer first. We make sure that we're delivering value that they can see and understand. And it's being recognized. That's really cool.
Brendan and Dave signing off from Inbound 2025 in San Francisco. Thank you guys for listening to our thoughts. We're excited to keep learning and keep sharing them with you.
Yeah, thank you guys.